This is episode 9. We're still on the How I Met My Husband series. I'm SAGENEL, and it is a pleasure to have you back with us, helping you gain perspective on how you can meet your husband and how you can be found by him. Especially in today's interesting world, like Dr. Cindy Trim says, the world we're born into does not exist any longer. So there are going to be changes to how things have always been. However, because of the changes, this doesn't mean that you need to dump your value system or you need to dump your faith or your conviction. It has nothing to do with that, but it is understanding and upgrading your mind to be able to know how to align your values and your convictions in line with the new ways things are being done in this generation. For instance, the use of social media is something that did not exist some years back. But then you can infuse your values, your faith, your conviction into using social media. This and many more is what we'll be discussing in today's episode. Let's get our guest on board. I am so excited how she got into this version of herself and how it impacted on her marriage as well. She's coming through. All right, she's here. Good morning, Mrs. Ayo. Thank you so much for choosing to be a part of this episode. We are so grateful.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We're so
It's my
grateful.
pleasure.
Come again.
It's my pleasure.
Oh, okay, yes, thank you so much. And like I was saying, at some point, you will tell us how you moved just from, because I know I've asked you quite a couple of times, how you moved from a woman who was just not so always full of joy to who you are today. We'll ask that question and how what changes you even saw, how it impacted on your marriage. That question will be important so that single ladies, who especially this series is for, can know how evolution in their own personal lives as well can also impact their marriage. All right, so let us get right into the conversation. Welcome to everybody that is joining us. I am so excited. It's one of my favorite episodes. So this is Ayo. Without further ado, my favorite question in this series, which is usually our first question, is how did you meet your husband?
That's a very, can I use the word exciting question for me? Because I was actually having a conversation with our daughter some few days ago. And she was like, Mom, the way you and Dad met is weird. I can't just wrap it around my head. So let me just let you into how we met.
Yes.
So we attended the same university, University of Ilorin, in
Okay.
Ilorin, Nigeria, West Africa, Africa. So that was where we met. And when I got in my 100 level, being a person of faith, I'm of the Christian faith, I joined the Unilorin Christian Union. And part of the things you're expected to do is to undergo we call it the Overcomers class. So he happened to be one of my teachers, that took me during the classes. And that was the relationship we had. Hi, you were in class, you took the classes, and, and that's it. So we just met in school. I have a friend who we were in the choir together, and we're very close, so go for fellowship together, choir rehearsals, and him and my husband now happen to be friends. And at some point, they were in the same hostel and moving to another hostel. So, like I said, we've always seen in the school. I was in the choir, and the choir people, we are always in front. It's not a hidden ministry, we are always in front. So I guess he must have seen me there, apart from having seen me in my 100 level. And then that was it. So when they were moving rooms from one room to another, he saw me. And what he told me, in his words, he said he had a nudge in his heart that I'll be his wife. And sometime later, not quite long after that, he proposed, and that's what my daughter can't just get round her head. He said, you guys, you've not been friends. You guys have not gone on a single date. And he just came to you and said you are his wife. And you carried yourself. He said you went to pray. And you came back and you gave him a yes. That she can't just, the words she used was like, you guys are weird. That was her words. That you guys were just a weird set of people. And the thing is, after he did that, yeah, I went to pray and I told him I didn't like him at that point in time. He wasn't one of the people, that ticked my fancy. A little confession. I had someone else, at the back of my mind that I was praying and wishing and desiring that the person would come. In short, let me use the words of the children of nowadays. I had a crush.
Yes.
Yes. I had a crush. Until tomorrow, the crush never crossed. Tomorrow. After he told me about that, I said, okay, I was going to pray about it. I took some time to pray. And I also had a nudge in my spirit that he's the one. There were a few scriptures that came to me at that time. And one that I can't forget was actually Amos 3:3, which says, can two work together except they be agreed? And the truth is, I was in sort of an argument with God. Yes, I can decide to agree with someone else, not necessarily him. Not necessarily him, when that scripture came, that was the answer I gave. But after all said and done, and I said, okay, God, let's set a fleece. Those days, now we do fleece a lot. Were you part of the people that did fleece? Did you join them? So I said, okay, you didn't join them. I joined them. I said, okay, Lord, let's do it. Let me set a fleece at this point in time. He was already on his way out of the uni. I was going to 400 level working on my project at that point in time. So I said, okay, I'll go to school today. If I see him, then I will give him a yes. If I don't see him, then I'll give him a no. And it was really so funny, thinking back like no way, you don't do such things again. Just ensure you have an intimate, solid relationship with God so that you don't have to, do all that, to get it together. But, because I know God loves me so much and he knows that I need him in my life to fulfill purpose and destiny. My husband wasn't in Ilorin that morning. He was in Lagos. He said he just had a feeling to come to Ilorin. Yes. He just had a feeling to come to Ilorin. And he came to Ilorin. He came to school. It was on a Tuesday. I can never forget. It was on a Tuesday. We were going for prayer meeting. Okay, I didn't tell you how I got to school. So we're on holiday, like I said. So I told my parents, and it was half through, half. I had my second reason. I told my parents I was going to see my supervisor. Really, I was going to see my supervisor. But the main thing was also to, execute my pleas.
Your program, exactly.
So I told them I was going to go to school to see my supervisor so that we can take the project further. And I did. So getting to school when I saw him in the evening, I was going to the fellowship. It was a Tuesday. We have prayer meetings on Tuesdays. So you pass through their hostel and, to the fellowship ground. And I was going with two of my other friends. They are twins. And immediately we got to that place. And because they are also friends with some of the other brothers in that hostel, they saw them, brother so is around. Let's go and say hello to them. I said, not me, are you? Me, I'm going to fellowship. Because I'd seen him. And my heart just kicked. And I was like, oh, yeah, you are stuck. Yes, you are stuck. Just find a way, to relieve yourself of this burden. So I went to the fellowship, was prayer meeting, like I said. I was just praying, God, grace to just And after the prayer meeting, I called him. I just went to him, called and told him I wanted to see him. And, we call it block 1 then. Yes. So we went to block 1 and I told him, my answer. You need to see Mr. Law. The 100-meter dash that he took. He ran. He was so excited. And he came back. The very funny thing again was that it was at that point I told him my health challenges, which ideally, in Kechi, should have happened so that he would have made up his mind whether he was ready to go along or not. But I just believe because of the kind of heart we also went into the relationship with, it actually helped us, and thank God for his grace as well. It was then I just told him that, well, while growing up, I had this challenge with my kidneys, and even up until my early university days, it still lingered. It's no longer there now, but I just feel I need to let you know, because part of the things the doctor said that might happen is maybe I won't be able to have children. So it's important for you to know if you are good to go on this journey. Let us know from day one, so we are not, breaking each other's heart along the line. And afterwards, I asked him that, because he said he didn't feel otherwise, that in his head was, we are good to go. God has, is a part of this relationship. I think I heard God, and so I'm sure, let's just go ahead with it. And we never, now, we don't use some absolute words in our profession, but in this case, we never looked at that space in the course of our relationship as, is it? And God has just been so faithful. Now we have 3 amazing trailblazers. Even along the line, I lost one because I was pregnant with IUD on. You can imagine. So people that I think it's, it's 100%. I was pregnant with IUD on, and we left the pregnancy just to see how it would do. But along the line, the baby couldn't, it couldn't survive. So I had to, it actually came down by itself. So they now had to, do the flushing and all. So yes, that was how I met him. We, the weirdos, how the weirdos met. That was how the weirdos met. And, I gave him a response, and yeah, here we are. The rest is history. Yeah. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Can you imagine? I have been talking since. So I would say that you are actually black and beautiful. So I can imagine how you were looking those days in university. Like, I understand your husband's choice. I understand. One thing I would like for you to please help us understand, and bringing it to the context of this generation now, is you rightly shared, and I'm happy that this was your situation, so we can use it to learn, that you even had this crush when your husband came to be approaching you and whatnot. Could you distinguish what were those things in that crush that made you attracted to him? And what was it with your husband at the time, of course, before God gave you the conviction, that you just felt, what, Seth? No, me, I don't know, because you were telling us that you were telling God that him must it be the one I will agree with. And I think when you answered that, I will take it further to where I'm headed with the question.
Okay, great. And it's so beautiful. Myself and my husband were having a conversation yesterday, and we went back, because I'm working on my book. We went back, and I was like, the reason why why I didn't really want you at that point in time. The first reason was the fact that his parents at that time were attending the CNS church. And in my head, I can't deal. Because of the things I've heard. I've not attended any service in the CNS church. Yeah. I've not really interacted with anyone from the CNS. But all those things that you hear from here and there. So I just concluded in my heart that this set of people, I cannot deal with them. So that was number one. And this other person happens to be a member of the Anglican Communion, which I grew up in. So I believed we would be able to operate on the same level, So that was number one. Then number two, this other person happens to come from, a tush, kind of family and all. My husband, the mom is a petty trader. I love her to bits, but I'm just having to say this, yes, the mom is yes, is a petty trader. And in my head, I'm like, no. How can we? The backgrounds are just two worlds apart. I'm from, my parents are educationists, so you can imagine the Queen's English and all and all. My husband grew up in First Stack, speaking pidgin English, pidgin English. Oh my God. I can't just imagine having to, deal with such a person in my head at that point. And no. And I didn't just like him. At that time, I didn't just like, I felt our backgrounds are not just in sync. That was what I felt at that point in time. So there was really nothing, of, I felt there was nowhere our path, could have crossed. I still tell him, I remember what he wore that day. He was in a t-shirt and a flowered monkey jacket with a white NYC canvas. Oh my God. Oh my God. No. I don't because I happen to be the last child. And I have two older sisters who were working. So you can imagine how my wardrobe was. I was looking through some pictures that I want to put in my book, and I was looking at the clothes I was wearing as at that time. They were working class clothes.
Wow.
When I want to, I iron 3 weeks clothes at a stretch. I don't repeat in 3 weeks. So you can imagine, I don't repeat my clothes in 3 weeks.
Hey, wow.
So you can imagine coming from that kind of a background. The truth, God forgive me now, I know He has forgiven me, was that I sized him up. I sized him up. And in my heart, I was like, no. This person does not look like, that place
where
I think I'm saying, So those were the things that I saw at that point in time that made me to say no. And I saw what I really wanted in this other person. And I felt, I think this is a better deal, for him.
I am so happy that I got to interview you, Mrs. Ayo. You know why? This point that you shared, and you've passed it. That's why you're going to now tell us the testimony of how you've got, over 20 years in marriage. That is way behind. But this is what a lot of people are experiencing in this day and age, and it's getting them stuck. And they're just, some people are missing their spouse, their husband, or even their wives, depending, because of things like this. So now, to further the question, let's start with the church part. How were you able to reconcile that before we now talk about the status parts? How were you able to reconcile all that to say, okay, you know what, let's keep on going?
Okay. When after I had my conviction as well, and I told him, one of the things I told God, I said, God, before we get married, I don't want them to attend CNS church. One of the things I love about myself and God is I just approach him like my father. And I can tell him anything. The way I feel, I'm not one of those people that would think God will be upset. No, He already knows what's going on in my mind. So let us just say it out.
Yes.
And so that I will feel good and He will know. And this part of me that I just mentioned, at some point I lost it and I became hypocritical. So now trying to feel among and just trying to put it, I know she's noting it down, she'll ask me that question. No, I said, I know you want to note that part down so that you'll come back to it. Yeah. So, I just said, Lord, this particular situation, my desire is actually for them, before we get married, they don't attend the CAC church again. And SAGENEL, myself and mom and dad didn't have that conversation. And I call my parents-in-law mom and dad. We didn't have that conversation. But before we got married, they weren't attending the CNS church again. They started going to the reading church. I'm not condemning the CNS church, like I told you. It's just that my own understanding and what I could deal at that point in time was I couldn't just wrap my head around, having to come into a home where I'll have to learn the dynamics of how that area plays out. And before we got married, they actually left the CNS church, and they joined the Redeemed Christian Church of God. And for me, that was huge. I've had some amazing experiences with God. And that's why on me, nobody can tell me otherwise. I tell people that I have an intimate relationship with God, so that even when things are not going on well in a particular place wherein I am, you can't tell me otherwise about who I know God to be. So in this instance, that was what happened. And before we got married, they started attending the Redeemed. They're even elders now. So it's just amazing how things like this, happen. And yes, God just showing us and helping us to see that He has a hand. We have a part to play as well in ensuring that we fulfill the purpose for which He has created us.
Okay. Okay, let me breathe it. But before I go to the next part of this question, which is status, in retrospect, do you think that with God's conviction, even if they had not changed, you could have found a way to navigate the CNS background? Because I don't think your husband was attending CNS. I think
he was actually attending the Redeemed. Yes. Okay. The reason I was so particular about them is I'm the kind of person that sees my in-laws as a part of me. So I wouldn't want a situation where me and my husband, we are good. I'm having issues with mom. I'm having issues with dad. That kind of a thing. So, and that stems from my own background. I saw my parents bringing in their parents into the house. I saw my mom bringing in his dad to live with us for a season. I saw my father bringing in his mom to live with us. So that was a mindset I grew up with, that I wouldn't want a situation wherein I wouldn't be free to bring these people into my home. So that was, that was what I had at the back of my mind. But if it's in retrospect, now that if it was me now, then it wouldn't have bothered me, because I've grown, I've matured. I know there is a way I can still relate fantastically with them, now, irrespective of the kind of place they are from, irrespective of the background, irrespective of their spiritual inclination. Yes. So if it's now, I would have been able to manage it. But at that point in time, I couldn't just deal. So I just had to say, Lord, you know what? Your daughter needs help. If this is it, God help her.
Please help me.
And He did. He did.
Yes, He did. Thank you for sharing that with us. I just needed you to share that, because there may be situations whereby people find themselves in your shoes and the parents are not moving from whatever church that is. So I wanted your advice on that, and you've shared that marvelously well. Thank you. So before we
say something, life is about being strategic. You have to be able to come up with strategies that will, like my coach will say, promote your peace and progress at all different points in time in your life. So as things go, you have to be strategic. You have to be strategic. You don't leave your life to chance. You just have to be able to sit down and say, what do I want? What do I want? So in every relationship we are in, we have to be able to have it at the back of our minds. What exactly am I saying? What do I want at the end of the day? And you begin to play to that script that you've written. You begin to play to that script that you've written here.
Okay, that's good advice for someone. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ayo. Before we move to the status, like you knew, or you already knew, I was going to ask about that part where you were speaking about you were being hypocritical.
Yeah.
What was that about? Does it mean, if you could share with us what that was about before?
Okay. When I was in Kwara State, down to earth, yourself, nobody's forming for anybody, and the truth is, even in Kwara State, I was one of the people in the elite status, my family was one of the people in the elite status in Kwara, so, but coming to Lagos, I now began to see some things. I now began to see the way people do things, you know. So I decided to join, you know. I came from from an Anglican background, like I said.
Mm.
In the
Mm.
church, when you're praying, you sit down and you're having your conversations with God. But you know, I came
Mm.
to Lagos during the Pentecostal, and I started seeing people, you know, walking around when
Yeah,
you are praying, like doing stuff, you
rolling
know.
sometimes.
So basically, I joined them. I joined them, and that also seeped into other areas of my life. So you know, that's feeling of this is the way they are doing it here. Oh, let's join them. You know, so
Mm.
that was where the hypocrisy, you know, came on, and I knew, Ayo, this is not you. This is not you. This is not you. And I'm grateful I was able to catch myself, although I lingered in that state for a long time, unknowingly. It was actually
Okay.
after I did my jar of life that I found it.
Oh, okay. Okay, wow.
Yes,
Thank God
but
for FS.
I did my jar of life. Yeah, so
Mm.
indeed, my story wouldn't be complete without that. You know, the family systems engineering, my story won't
Yes.
be complete without that. Because
Okay.
it's
Thank
impacted
you.
our home, impacted the children, impacted
Mhm.
myself, impacted my husband, a total overhaul of the family.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So, for those watching, you can, well, I think we can speak a bit about it at the end for those who are interested so that you can also learn. Beyond it even being a certification like Mrs. Ayo has shared, it's really a life transformative process. If you take it seriously, because those who take it seriously, it's not about, sometimes people get cynical about courses because they are buying all courses online, but they're not sitting with it.
Yeah,
There's nothing
you have to.
cannot help you if you don't sit with it. Who can help you? So that's that about that. Now, the status part, how were you able? Because from what you shared with me, if I'm to write it in a fictional story, I really paint you as that status girl. And maybe because of the family you came from, and even just the things you had. So it's not like, I will not say it's not like it was a bad thing in
Yeah,
that sense. But maybe
it
how you were
wasn't a
now
bad
looking at
thing.
all that. Exactly. So how were you not able to say,
It
oh, I beg, oh, how would we
was
marry?
it was just that, you know, having been used to a kind of life, and you know
Yes.
that I have a choice, you know. So
Yeah.
why should I open my two eyes and just say I want to enter into this one? You know, that was it. Because I
Yeah.
remember one of the comments I hear from my friends is, "Oh, Ayo, you look good. Ayo, you have a constant smell." I had a perfume I was using. Yes,
Yeah, there were those. It's true.
yes. I
It's true. Now
had a
there's so much in the
constant,
online space,
yes,
but there are people with constant smell. If you
yes. I
back then
had
don't use it so often.
exactly. I had a constant smell, you know, and it's just so amazing. I'm thinking about it. I'm just relishing, just relishing. You know, I always looked good, and
Hmm.
I think I still do. What do you think?
You know, yes, you still do. No, yeah, you still do. Like,
So I've always, you know, the way some of my friends will say, you don't even loosen up. Because the way you see me in the morning is still the way I'm going to the lecture, the classes in the evening to read. As in, I'm all decked up. You know, the one that people are going to classes in the evening and they're wearing slippers. No,
like,
I'm still in my loafers. Yes.
wow,
In the
wow.
evening, going to class to read. So you can so you can
Yeah,
imagine at that
picture
point in time.
just the kind of person you were.
Yeah. So how was I able to deal with that? Uh, Um, because of my relationship with God, I just believed I was doing the right thing. And I believed that as time goes on, I believe He will also, you know, do well and all. And by the time we began to have conversations, I saw that he's someone who has the potential. I saw that he's someone who knows where he's going. I saw that he's someone who, yes, it may be like this now, but this is not where I want to be. I have a future. I have a vision for the future. So those were the things that began to put my mind at rest, you know. We weren't married yet. I was thinking of, okay, I want to get a car. I want to, you know, I want us to get a house, you know. So when I began to do such things, oh, I'm already making the bed, you know. So when I began to see all those things, you know, my heart was just, you know, getting set. Okay, I think this man knows where we're going. And when I began to see his saving culture as well, you know, I found out that, okay, yeah, this one is someone I can really, really, you know, walk this journey with. And then we began to grow in friendship. We began to grow in friendship. The love, you know, started coming inside. Started coming inside. And then we began to, you know, but for us, but, you know, I wouldn't advise this process as a professional. I wouldn't advise the process of you having accepted the proposal before you start friendship. No, I wouldn't. Now, with the light I have seen, because the truth, SAGENEL, my eyes saw when, or rather, our eyes, the two of us, we were just hurting ourselves left, right, and center. Hurting ourselves left, because we didn't know so much about our personality. We didn't know how to manage ourselves. Okay, I'll say this. I took on the personality of a, we call it systematic Oma, because of my health challenge. So I took that on. But in retrospect now, when I did my road mapping chain, I actually found out that I have creative compatible high now in me, as you can see. But I'm just so grateful that the systematic forward came in first, because that's helped to be able to put systems in place. So now when I want to play so much, I'm sure there are times people even on that our group, and some people think, does this Ayodeji is ever serious for one day? The truth is, those times that you see me come on that group to play, there are the times I'm just chilling out. When I want to be serious, yes, when I want to be serious, I just face what I have to do. If you like, put your head down, carry your leg up. I'm not seeing you at that point in time. So yes, so we have challenges with that. I'm a systematic Homer. He happens to be a dependable convertible. So you can imagine. So I came into the marriage very serious. You won't catch me laughing. I was looking at my old pictures and I was like, how are you? Did you see yourself? You know, no, I was always having a straight face. You know, you won't see my teeth outside. Why? Why should you see my teeth outside? It's like this. Look at my picture. You know, so yes, our personalities were clashing. I didn't know his love language. You know, he didn't know mine. And we're just hurting ourselves. You know, left, right, and center. But I think one of the things that helped us, you know, thus far is the fact that we didn't have divorce as an option. We didn't have divorce from the beginning. It was not an option. We always believed we can always talk about it. Let's talk about it and see how we can, you know, work together and walk this journey together as a team.
Okay, so Mrs. Ayo, as a professional, stepping in as a professional to discuss this question now, what do you think is really the problem going on? Because this is the 9th episode. I've interviewed people up until this 9th episode, and we see that at least getting married, women in your era getting married then, there seems to be some level of reasonability, I'm going to coin that word, in the sense that you saw that, okay, well, this is not the man that I may like just at first instance, but I'll sit down with God, I'll find a way, I will think about it and see if it works. I'm not saying, oh, everybody that's the guy came that they didn't like, it was the one for them. I'm sure different other people have stories. But this same thing in this generation, you see a guy with potential. Let me give an example. There's this cab guy that I have that usually takes me when I want to go on some distances and we're not driving. So we're discussing, and he was telling me that some women have asked him questions like, because the guy seemed to be okay, like facial wise. And so they've asked him that questions like, why are you doing this job, this cab, e-hailing cab? Why are you doing this job? And it's like, that's a job I can do right now to sustain my life and whatnot. But they want something with him, but they are not seeing beyond what he's currently doing. Whereas women in your era, I'm talking about women got married, especially let's say 15 years ago, you were able to sit down with your men and see potential. And now, when we even see pictures with the men, they don't even look like where they are coming from. I'm saying pictures that you share online. So what is really the problem? Because principles are the same. You're not going to say because you're in 2022, a guy will not start his life from the scratch because he wants to marry you. How can it? What do you have to say as a professional and to women? Because that's my own target audience. I'm sure there are those talking to men on how to navigate understanding seasons of men and not just discarding somebody, for instance, because he's an e-hailing driver or thinking that that's what he's going to do all the days of his life. I mean, I'll just leave you to please answer it.
Okay. Thank you so much, SAGENEL. Usually what I tell people is it starts from the home. What are the conversations we as mothers and fathers are having with our children? What are the values we are handing over to them? How are we helping them to also elicit their own values such that when they are growing up, they are also looking out, they are able to see how they can see someone and say, oh, this person is on the right track. It may be like this at this point in time, but I know that there is a future in this. So it starts with us. It's not something that they will pick when they are much older. It is what we put in them from now. So what are the conversations, the mummies in our own generation, because they are now our children, and maybe
yes, true,
our auntie's children or whatever. What are the conversations we are having with these children? Very important. So it starts with us. Do we have times we sit down with them? Do we have times we tell them our stories? Or we just think that it has been rosy? This my same daughter, our second child, she was one of the reviewers of my book. And one of the things she said was that in that book, I put out there the things that people would have ordinarily hidden away.
Wow.
So what are those things that we parents are sharing with our children? How are we allowing them to see life and know that, yes, a guy can have a car, well-dressed today, does not mean that's the way it's going to be. Exactly. But do you see the potential he has to be able to even bounce back if anything happens? If that particular individual is taken to an island and is just giving his brain, it's only his brain that is with him, can he start again and make something amazing out of his life? Or this particular young man or young woman you're looking at, is the person riding on the parents' wealth? It's fantastic if you have parents who can bequeath things to you, but what can you do for yourself? What can you do by yourself? So these are the things I believe we need to hand over to our children, so that by the time they get to that age, they know what to do, they know the things to look out for when a guy or a lady, is with them. Yeah. So when you're going out on a date, you're listening out to hear some things. You're listening out to hear some things. Very, very important.
Okay. Thank you so much for that response, Mrs. Ayo. Well said. So how long did you date or court your husband? And okay, you already shared with us how you were convinced that it was the one, but how long did you date him or court for, and what did you use that period for rather? Because you had already shared with us that you were not friends, so I am maybe assuming that it may have been a period to share friendship. But regardless, you have a qualitative marriage as long as quantitative as it is. It's quality and quantity as well, which matters. How do you think the courtship period helped to build that?
Okay. Okay. I'm trying to calculate now.
Okay.
I got the uni. I think it was from, I think we quartered for 4 years. Yes, 1996,
Yeah.
thereabouts, so 90 to 2000. Yes, we quartered for 4 years. And
Okay.
because we didn't date too. So it was courtship we did. In my book, I wrote dating stroke courtship because everything that's joined together.
Yes.
For 4 years.
Mm.
And during that time, um, one thing that I know, and because of our faith as well, that stood out then, we had times to pray, we had our fasting days as well, we had our prayer days, we were always going for events, concerts here, concert there. So we developed that. Because he lived in Lagos, I was in Ilorin. So it's only when I come to Lagos on holiday with my sisters, that I'm able to see him, in Lagos, and then we'd go out, visit friends. Let me even gist you. There was even a particular day we went out. We went to Agege. You know Agege in Lagos
Ah,
now. We went to
yes.
Agege. And my dear husband took me on Molue. I was sad that day. Because I'm coming from Ilorin, where you take taxis. And your
Mm.
taxi, when you went down with taxi, and maybe the taxi didn't see you on time, the taxi had gone ahead, the taxi will reverse.
Ah.
You come
Ah.
and meet you where you are at. And then you go into the taxi. And then the whole
Definitely.
thing, the Queen of Choir State came to God. And you took me on Monday. I sobbed all through. So by the time we got back, I said, sweetheart, please, I'm not being proud, but never again. Please, never again. I was
Mm.
running after the buses. But you know
Yes, you
what?
run after
After I came to Lagos and I started work, I ran after Manuel.
You run
I ran
after
after Manuel. After I got back to Lagos, so we were going out, visiting friends, our friends too from school and on and on and on. So yeah, those were the things, we were doing together at that point in time. Yeah. And it was all Christian, no smooshing, no
Mm.
kissing. That was it then,
Mm.
no, none of all those. We were just focused on, let me get to know you, your spiritual stand, and that, and that, and that. And we became, it now began to grow in friendship. I got to
Mm.
meet his, okay, let me tell you this part of the story. There was a day um, I went to school.
Mm.
I'm trying to remember now. I think it was on the mini campus. I went to the mini campus to visit some friends or so. So he came there as well. So we met. We came home together, but we didn't really come into the house. Then we went, because we hadn't met my parents then. Then I saw him off again. Um, those trips that you see someone off, you come back again, you move again together, you come back again. That was what we did
Mm.
that day. So when I came back home, my mom said, "Where are you coming from? What's up?" And I said, that it's myself and my friend." She now
Mm.
asked that, "Who is that friend?" And I said that there are some friends that, I've forgotten how I coined it now. It just escaped my mind. Sort of, there are some friends that, you don't just, they are not the usual friends. So when
Mm.
she heard that, she got the message and she said, "I want to see that friend."
Wow.
So that was how I brought him home. He met my mom, and then my mom now told my father. They now called him again, you know,
Wow.
and he now met the two of them, and that was, and they were really, really so accommodating. They took him in, and yeah, that was how it all started. At least with the relationship between him and my parents. And then when I went on holiday to Lagos, I met his own parents as well. Met his siblings, met his friends, and that was it. And the rest is history, like they say.
History. Yes. So interesting. Thank you for also infusing and imputing those stories. I totally love it. Yes, we are laughing at your Molwe running after Molwe. My own coach is laughing. It's so, so funny. I can imagine from taxi coming back to you running after. It's interesting. Interesting. Okay. What's Okay, I thought you were dead. So then my next question is, what obstacle may you have faced if you faced obstacles before you got married to each other, whether during the courtship or even just a few months before wedding? For instance, one of our guests that we were interviewing said how they had to postpone their introduction for one trouble or the other, one reason or the other. So for you, in your own case, what sort of obstacles, if any, did you face before getting married to each other?
The truth is, our courtship years were
Mm,
just great. We
mm,
didn't have any issue with anyone. Nobody resisted us. It was just beautiful, you know. It was just a part of me being able to see the future in him, you know, and that was a personal inner struggle, you know. But apart
yes.
from that, we didn't have any external challenge. The day we set for our wedding, our parents accepted. It was just smooth sailing, you know, it was good. No
Yes.
challenge at all.
Okay. Did you have, or what were your fears before getting married? Did you have any? To be like, ah, hey, this one is going to be a forever journey. I don't know if you had any sort of fear that you started demystifying as time went on.
I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't.
Okay. So that's going to
I
be the
was
first
just
of
because
this swimming
I'd
thing.
already made up my mind, you know, to go with him. So I just
Wow.
felt, so the only thing, like I mentioned, the only thing is, you know, growing to love him. But fear as regards, maybe it won't work out, or no, 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 no. There wasn't anything like that. It was just, you know, just had it at the back of our minds that this is what we have decided to do, and we trust that it's going to pan out well.
Okay, what about expectations?
Okay.
Like, what sort of
Yes, sir.
expectations did you have? Did you think that you overestimated some expectations? And what was it
Oh,
like when you got
oh,
married?
oh, yes. You know, we always have, okay, don't let me use the word always, because I've not done
Mm,
my research on that. Some of us have fantasies. Oh, when I get married, da 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 da, my husband will open the door to the car, da 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 da. You know, all those our films, they did a lot to our mind.
always
You know,
be
such
together
things. Yes,
24/7.
I really wanted a romantic person. Do you understand? Which he happened not to be. He is a humorous person, but not a romantic person. You know, there are
Mm,
two different things.
two different, yes.
It can be funny and not romantic. That is who my husband happened, you know, to be. So he was more of a, a funny person, but not romantic, you know, not romantic. So for me, that was an
Mm,
expectation that wasn't that wasn't met. And I happen to be this person that loves gisting, you know. I love gisting. And I love when I'm gisting with you, you're giving me your attention. That's me. But, you know, those were the things we had to struggle with in our relationship because he's not so much of a gisting person and he may not give you all the attention, you know, and I'm having to say, are you listening? Are you here? Can you hear me? Do you get what I'm trying to say? So for me, that was really, really a tough um, part of the journey.
Okay, so how were you able to work it out? Because nowadays, some things like this cause divorce. Before you know, they'll say,
Yeah,
I'm not doing again. It's quite
I, I'm,
unfortunate, but
I'm, I'm one person, when I see value in something, I'll keep at it, whether you like it or not. And you can see the way I send WhatsApp messages to you. That is
mm,
me. That is me in real life. So
mm.
when I see value in something, I won't I won't give up. I will keep strategizing and finding ways, you know, to bring it up, to bring it up, bring it up. So that's for me, that's the way we've been able to work. Because yeah, I'm having conversations with you. I need you to listen. I need you to be a part of this. So that it's not that I shared it with someone else runs with it. And now when I'm sharing the story, you don't show up. You need to show up in the
Mm.
story as well. I don't want some other people showing up in the story of my life. I need you to also be a part of it. Yes, others can be a part, but I need you to, So for me, those are the values that I just keep, bringing to the fore,
Mm.
bringing to the fore, yeah. So I'm persistent. When I know that I have something to share with you that will do you good or do me good, I won't give up. I will not.
That's a good one. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ayo. What pleasantly surprised you after you got married? Like a good surprise, not a yeah, like maybe that oh you did not know that, like honey, I didn't know that you could do this or you had this in you.
I think I need to write another book. When I'm writing another book, I will collect these questions.
Ah, Mrs. Ayo, I'm gonna trademark the question.
I will collect these questions from me. I'm trying to think. What really surprised me pleasantly? Uh, pleasantly. I can't really. I can't really
At
think of anything.
this particular point,
Oh,
yes, no
oh,
problem.
oh,
No problem.
oh,
Just move on to other question. If it ever comes up, you can just always share
oh,
along the line. That's
yeah.
totally fine. Now, to one of the important parts, what has changed from then to now? And at this point, I'd like you to please share with us the kind of person you were before you went through FSC and then you now became just this person full of joy. What's changed from then to now? What was then like and what was now like in the best way that you can put it together, and how has it impacted on your marriage? Because I think one thing in this generation why there's a lot of divorce going on is that many people don't do their own work. They are waiting to say our marriage. Yes, it's our marriage, no doubt about that. I'm talking male and female, it's not exclusive to a gender now. But if you also are not, you're not evolving, it's going to show and it's going to put pressure on the relationship. So I'd like you to answer from your own example and also just speak to that.
Okay, so Janelle, you're actually telling me to read out my book. I won't read out my book.
Okay, I've read
Because really, that's what my book is about. Living, loving, and laughing, the balanced me. That's what it's about. How I was able to transition from that not so happy, always, tight, always serious, to this happy-go-lucky Ayo, who is just always smiling. No matter what you say now, she just, changes the narrative and just sees that, which just gives her peace, you know.
Yes.
So what happened? Like I said, when I was 5, I was diagnosed with a particular disease called nephrotic syndrome. And after some time, it went into remission. It affects the kidneys. So the way it works is the kidney keeps leaking, in a layman's language, keeps leaking out protein. Keeps leaking out protein. Yes. So that was the condition. And after
So
some
sorry
time,
to
it went
sorry, Mrs. Ayo. So does that make you sick, or when it
Oh
leaks
yes,
out, what does it do?
it makes me then very sick, tired. I was bloated. I was retaining water, having edema. Yeah, my tummy was big, my limbs were thin, my face was swollen, my arms thin and all, so that was
That was the
the
effect.
that was the picture, the effect then. And then definitely the kidney keeps, deteriorating and all. So it went into remission. Then I went on a trip to Port Harcourt after my JS3 exams to visit my uncle and my auntie. And then I fell ill. And then nephrotic syndrome came back. But what happened when I got ill, age 5, was it affected me. So I became the quiet, withdrawn child. So I took on that personality up until even when it came back again in my teenage years. And this time it was ferocious. It was terrible. It was bad. So you can imagine a teenager in SS class, you know, having to go through all that, in and out of the hospital, admissions today, admissions tomorrow. Your friends are looking at you. They don't really understand as well, because you yourself, you don't understand what is up with you.
Understand.
You
Yes.
know. So that was the state we're in. I was, so I took on that very that introverted personality. So by the time I got, you know, into the relationship as well, I was still very quiet, very reserved, very serious. Like this, like this, like this, like this. Let's do it like this. And then I got married. The children started coming as well. I still have that personality, such that even when it became it was just worsening. It worsened after I now even became a full-time housewife. Because after we had our first child, we both decided it was great. I stopped working because I couldn't manage the two. And which today is another advice I will not. It's another thing I wouldn't advise people now. I'll ask them, before you make that decision, make sure you've explored and exhausted all the options, you know, of the support system that you have. Can your mom come? Can your mom-in-law come? Can your sister-in-law is still waiting for admission come? You know, that kind of a thing. Explore. Can you have a nanny that comes and goes? Can you have a nanny that... Just look at all the available options before you say, you know what, my life comes to a halt. Because that was what happened to me. I sacrificed my own career. I sacrificed everything about me to sit with the children. I tell people now that you can have the best of both worlds. It's possible. It's just for us to be able to explore the options. There are amazing people in our lives that we can leverage on. Most of the time, what we've heard, what we've seen in other people's lives, we allow that to hinder the possibilities that we could have, you know, explore. So we didn't do that. So I had to stop working, and you know, I now was not a stay-home mom, you know, really not doing anything. Before I made up my mind, I wanted to go back to school for my postgraduate diploma, which I did. But you know, that is not even forever. By the time I came back, you know, it was really, really not a very palatable experience. And you know, in my mind's eye, I was seeing my husband moving. He was progressing. He was, you know, he was being promoted at work. It's natural. At some point, you begin to resent. And you begin to ask yourself, am I going to continue like this? Am I going to continue like this? So the more the years lingered, the more I became upset. I became unhappy. I became withdrawn. You know, my husband and the children would be laughing and I'll be upset. What's making them laugh? Have they finished all the work they're supposed to do? You know, I just became very unhappy, cranky wife and mother. So I continued like that. At some point, I went back to work. And at that point, you know, meeting with people and all, I was a bit much more exuberant. Then in 2010, we had to relocate to Kenya. I still continued my work, which was good. The people I met there brought a bit of life, you know, out of me as well. Having to meet other women who were experts, were wives, going for dinners, lunches, coffees, and also it was really a good life. I enjoyed my stay in Kenya. Then our daughter came, the third one now joined us when we were in Kenya. And she happens to be one serious creative convertible. Her anger does not linger. As she's not getting angry, she's just, you know, by the time they smile now, she's already smiling. So she was the first, I tell her that she was the first infused catalyst in my story of becoming, because she made me to become childlike once again, you know. And being that I had her a bit, no, I was 36 when I had her. So her, you know, so I was much more older than when I had the the other ones and all. So she helped me, she brought out the childlikeness in me. So she was more like the the catalyst. So we came back to Nigeria. I was not trying to set up my business. It wasn't working. I tried to do so many things, tried to sell this, tried to sell that, tried to set up a catering business. It wasn't just working. So you can imagine, you can just imagine me being in that state.
Yeah.
And my husband was doing well, he was progressing, his job was, so I felt really, really left behind. I felt left behind. Then, before we went to Kenya, I'd started a ministry called the Praying Hannah's Ministry. So I decided, okay, you know what, let me just sit down in this ministry full time and just be there and see what would happen. So I started on the ministry. And I was on the ministry. It wasn't that I was being paid. It was a voluntary thing. So financially, economically, I wasn't supporting the family. And you know what? My husband's love language happens to be acts of service. And that's why I always tell people when I'm having conversations with intending couple, I say, you can have the love language, but also go further to ask for the dialect. Because we all have the Yoruba language, but there are different dialects, the Jesha, the Jebu, the Gomina, and all.
Yes, true.
That's what does act of service mean to you? What does it mean to you? Because for me, I thought act of service then, and because I wasn't earning, I wasn't financially, capable. My own way of speaking acts of service to him was ensuring the house is clean, the house is in order, everywhere is clean. But that wasn't what he was asking for. His own act of service is, can we join hands and support this family financially, which I didn't get in good time. So as I was resenting him, he was also resenting me in that area. So the resentment was coming. I had my own reasons for resentment. He had his own reasons for resentment. But like I said, because we didn't have that mindset of divorce or separation, we kept at it.
Yes.
We kept at it. So coming back to Nigeria, we attended a marriage course, we attended some marriage retreats, and our eyes were open to see that, wow, so there is life here much more than what we've been doing. And then in my church, we were called upon to join the counseling team, as marriage counselors, so you're usually called upon to join. So we're part of the people called to join. So we joined, and they had an abridged FSC for the counselors, and that was the aha moment for us. Even though at that time we were like, what is all this engineering? We didn't really put our mind to it, as it were, but it was more like, wow, so there is more there, and that was it. Then we now went on a Christmas holiday to Rwanda in 2018. I now met one of my old friends and we got talking. And I told him, okay, really, I'm not really doing anything at the moment. I'm sitting on this ministry at the moment, but what I really see myself is to be able to consult for organizations. And I was like, oh, okay, we have some. And that was the first time I heard about Dr. Maimuna. Dr. May. So he now told me, oh, I know someone who does this kind of a thing you're talking about, and that and that. Okay. So I now said, oh, I have PF's phone number on my phone. Because there was a time we had an event in church, and I happened to be one of those counselors that helped out there. So I had his number. There was a group formed, and he was on that group. So I just called him all the way from Rwanda that I know you are a counselor, and I know that you have an organization that trains people. This is the future that I see. Can your organization deliver this future? I said, yes. That was how I enrolled. Fortunately, that day, some money came to my hand. I made payments, and then, I started the course. SAGENEL, I think we were in the same class. Were we in the same?
No, I came after. I came after your class. Yes, we're not in the same.
I cried. when I saw my life outside, I cried. I cried. I was upset. I was bitter. All manner of emotions all in one. The 7 days, it was just a roller coaster. I wanted to help people, but I just said, you know why? You need help. You will be bleeding on your clients. You will just be bleeding on your clients. And I can remember when we finished that day, I went to PF. I said, PF, I would want you to coach me. That was the word I used. And he was like, you're going to bring so amount of money. I said, okay. When I am ready, I will come back, sir. You know. Then I didn't know the difference, as it were, between coaching and mentoring. Yeah. You know. So I said, I will come back. And that same day, Mommy Mo, she was one that took us the business of counseling. I don't know if she was one that took your class as well.
Yes,
she took us the business of counseling. And she told our set that she's given us 7 days, that everyone who is interested in her mentoring the person she will signify. I was the only person that went up to her. And that was how she was the first person that took me under her wings, asked me some questions. Am I going to go into it full-time, part-time? Some few days ago, she actually forwarded to me the conversation we had that day.
Wow. Wow.
You know? So, and that was it. So my journey began full-time after FSC, because I now had to deploy all the tools on myself. I had to deploy all the tools on my family. We came up with a user's manual. Everybody has a user's manual. They did their assessment. I just wanted to know why each child does the way he or she does. And it became so apparent why I was having some issues with my son and things like that, because our personality happens to, intersect at some point. You know, so for me, that was it. And by the time I saw that, and I found out that, wow, then I now went back to PF. No, I didn't go back to PF. We were now given mentors. And that happened to be assigned to PF. And PF now made me the coordinator of the group. You think I was given $1 billion. I was so excited.
That's what I said, God of our Lawrence. Like, look at just how God works.
I was happy. Wow. And I promised myself that I said, I'm going to milk PF. He will know that someone crossed his path.
That someone came, yes.
And that I have successfully done. I'm still successfully doing, and I will continue to do. All the questions, and festival will now make you start asking the why question.
Yeah.
I began to ask the why question. I didn't mind whether it was day or night or evening. Anytime the questions just drop in my head, I will just drop on it. And I'll wait for his response. Yeah. If he doesn't respond, I will do a to it. I'm still waiting.
This.
This thing, we are yet to handle it. And that was it. And I now began to see life in another way. I began to see that life is beautiful. Life is good. There's so many things I can do to myself, with myself. And I was just like, where have I been all these years? Where have I been, Lawrence? And that was it. That was
it. In fact, I'm waiting for your book. I'm sure once it's out, you will definitely share with us. Yeah. Because there are a lot of interesting stories and principles, I'm sure, that we can learn from you. Thank you for choosing to write that, because writing a book as an author myself is not an easy task, but you must just make it happen, especially if you want to produce it. So the question, did you do any form of premarital before your marriage? Because I know you've spoken about your postmarital, which is even some form of continuous marital is it enrichment and just learning for you both? But did you have any premarital, whether yes or no? Do you think it impacted in any way?
We did, but there are some things that I now know as a professional coach that we missed out. When we were doing the premarital counseling, nobody touched on our personality now. Nobody touched on that. And those are foundational things. Nobody touched Nobody touched on our love language, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, so it was more of the role of a man, the role of a woman, kind of. They don't sleep
I,
together, sleep
I
together,
know that.
you know, that kind of thing. So it wasn't as rich as it should, you
Mm.
know. It wasn't as rich as it should. Now that we know, we can now see the areas, you know, that were missed out in the curriculum
Yes.
that was deployed at that point in time.
Which is what you even now got to do now in
Oh,
marriage when you
yes.
are sharing
Yes.
God.
Yes.
And just to put it out there,
Yes.
now some churches are beginning to employ professionals. But if you know that you're in a church and you're watching this, that their counseling unit is not that robust, I always advise do it because you must do that for protocol to get married, but find a person who does premarital professional and work with them,
Yeah.
because like you said, now you cannot say, oh, and I've had people who they will say, because he's my pastor, I cannot tell him everything for whatever reason, maybe because they want to keep cordial relationship or they don't want to be seen in a certain light, whatever. There are those cases, so still just always work with a professional. I think that even Mrs. Ayo's story
It's very,
has
very
helped us to
important.
put lights on that aspect. Okay, I thought you wanted to make a say. Okay, I think what you said is very important. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I'm not.
Yes, I said it's very important. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So we are rounding up now. What when Mrs. Ayo said she was going to tell stories, in fact, what I was expecting, I've not, but I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it. I think
Thank you.
along the line you shared with us, but let me still ask you, it's possible you still have something to say. Is there anything you would have done differently in saying yes to your husband, going through the courtship up until marriage? Anything you could have done differently that we can learn from? Or if the script was played again, you still play it the same way?
No, no, we won't play it this way. We will- you know what?
Oh,
You know what? You know one thing that my husband and myself said. We did a show when we had our 21st year anniversary, and we told ourselves.
okay.
I said, "Tell me, you know that if it is the iron now with this knowledge that I have, I will not marry you." And
Mm,
yes, we said the same thing, that with the knowledge that he has now, and we
mm,
both just said, we will not.
mm,
Because the emotional stress that we went through was just too much. Was just too much. You know, we looked at ourselves against a few days and was like, no, if not for God, and we would have gone our separate ways.
mm,
That day, maybe from 2003 or 2002, everybody will have scattered. You
mm,
know?
mm.
So, SAGENEL, if it's the higher of now,
I think
the
your
higher of now,
phone is
yes, I'll
okay.
put it on.
It's up.
Yes.
Okay.
If it is the
Mm,
higher of them now, or the Femi of them now, and we came like that. He is Femi now, and I came as Ayo then, or Ayo now, and he came as everybody will just it will not even be a yet. We won't even consider it.
mm.
Because
Okay.
knowledge is important. Knowledge. It will still work together for your good, though.
Mm,
But there are some stresses you don't need to take yourself through. Not necessary. Not
mm,
necessary. So for us,
mm,
that's what would encourage people. The script will
mm.
write it against
Right.
in a way that it will be better.
Mm.
Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding.
And you already shared at the beginning that you would have allowed friendship to be fostered even
Yeah.
before, even though giving you your
Yeah.
because you would have, okay, so tell me about you, Femi. You both would have just been speaking. You would have been friends before you then now gave what God had told you.
Exactly. But
Mm.
you know, the mindset I had then really was, if your friend had proposed to you, he's taking advantage of you. It's because he has seen you finish. That's why he's saying, can you imagine? In short, I'm a weirdo. Like, okay. What would I have married if not my friend? else?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's one of the things that sustain a relationship.
Yes. Yes.
Be
True.
friends.
True.
Friendship. And with God in the center of it, with wisdom, knowledge, seeking to know strategy, the marriage. And like I tell people, it is your home. Don't say what will people say. People will always talk. It's about
Yeah.
you. Stop putting up the front. If you're dying, shout, cry, seek help, have a coach. Even though I'm a coach, we have a marital coach, and we don't miss our yearly marital checkup. We don't. We don't. We ensure we go for it every year as we are checking your mental whatever, dental checkup, your whatever checkup, breast, whatever. It is a must.
It's true.
It is a must. Because if you're not careful, you just continue to grow apart, and you just wake up one day and find out that. But if you're constantly checking, negotiation, communication, dressing, parenting, sexuality, bedroom matters. How are you doing there? You find there was a time myself and my husband, we decided to see a sex therapist. It wasn't that we had a challenge, but we just said, they should do this thing now. Let us go and And it's been amazing the things that we've gotten to know. And we're like, wow, there's still more in this department. We didn't know. Just to it up and make it, because now the children are growing, leaving the house. It's practically the two of us. It's only that we have Tamilore in the house, But apart from that, practically the two of us. And if we are unable to connect in every area, it's going to be a big challenge.
Just enjoying this. No want this to come to an end. Okay, I think final 2 questions. How have you been able to, what would you say is that one thing? Because I know that we can just go on and on, but what would be that one key thing that at least somebody can learn from this conversation on how you've been able to keep your marriage blooming? If you could just share that one thing with us.
One thing.
Yes.
One thing. The two of you must be vulnerable. You must be vulnerable. You must be vulnerable. First, to yourself as a person. Be vulnerable to yourself. Some people are hiding from themselves.
Yes,
some
true.
People are hiding from themselves. So be vulnerable, Ayo. Be vulnerable to Ayo. Then you can be vulnerable to Femi. Then you can be vulnerable to your children, because your children must be able to see your vulnerability. They must be able to see that it is not that daddy and mommy are machos. They have their strengths. They have their weak areas too. And that's one thing I love about open days. Fantastic. That was another tool that saved my home. Another tool that saved my home, that saved the relationship between us and our children. Because that open day gives them an opportunity to tell you what you are doing that they don't like. And you cannot.
You out.
They call in short, they call. The first few ones that we did there, when they start, I just be like this. I'm here to be crucified. I'm here again. So you must be vulnerable, very important. And then seek to understand. One of those 7 habits of highly effective people. It says seek to understand, then to be understood. If you seek to understand your husband, and your husband seeks to understand you, this issue of she does not understand me will never crop up. Because at each point in time, you're seeking to understand each other. So you seek to understand and then to be understood. So those understanding and vulnerability help.
My final question before we go to your rapid fire question is, what are your thoughts on why there is a lot of fear out there regarding marriage and the failed marriages that we continue to have? At the time of this recording, an announcement just came out yesterday regarding failed marriage. As an announcement will still come out, unfortunately, another day. So there seem to be so many failed marriages, and then now singles, which this conversation is especially for. are now having fear of marriage. Even when they meet a good person, they're like, hey God, like there's just so much fear and paralysis. What are your thoughts to that? And what do you have to say to people going through that?
We are the sum total of, okay, no, let me say that. The people that we roll with, impact us to a large extent. So who are the people in your circle? Who are the people you are relating with as a single person? What are the stories you are allowing to filter into your ears? As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So what are you hearing? What's getting into your heart? Because if you are not careful, you begin to if you surround yourself with people with negative stories, with negative histories, before you know it, you won't see any good in it. It's just natural. So we need to ask, who are the people these people are rolling with? What are we who are married also telling them? Yeah, it's bad. Marriage is not good. I tell people that marriage is beautiful. And it's not that I'm saying it's just to show, because I've experienced it. When I began to do that which I'm supposed to do, when I stopped abdicating my responsibility to God, I began to enjoy marriage. So marriage is beautiful. Are you ready to do the work? We've talked about the people doing your user's manual. We had to sit down to craft our vision in 2019, 19 years after our marriage. That was when we sat down. And the years have been collapsed for us. We sat down to do our vision, to come up with our values, to come up with our family creed, to come up with our constitution, our legend, to put things in place, our royalty days, our family times. We became more intentional. Normally, because of my, my systematic personality, November 15th, the tree must be up, everything must be. I did not do the house decoration until Tuesday this week. I wanted all of us to be home. In a long time, all of us decorated the tree. My 21-year-old son with my 19-year-old son and my 11-year-old daughter, we all decorated the house. It was beautiful. So marriages, home can work. Are we ready to do the hard work? That is it. Who are the people you're rolling with? Who are the people? What are the stories you are hearing? So it's working. It's working. Who are the people in your Holy of Holies? Who are the people in your inner caucus? Who? Because if you're rolling with people who are telling you one story, there's no how. It's going to rub off on the you will think that's the way it is for everybody.
True.
So for me, our relationships are very important. Who are the people? Who are the people? My birthday is on the 27th, and I was just, having a conversation with my daughter that should I call to the house the intending couples who are now couples that I worked with this year, for brunch, but I'm not yet clear because I think I need a bit of rest. But those are the things coming to my mind. Let's just share and just tell them they're just starting. Let's just pour into them again. So who are the people that you're allowing to speak to you into your life that you are rolling with? Very important.
What a great end to the main conversation. Thank you so much, Messiah. And just to add to that, before we go to our rapid fire question, you cannot, I said something, you can't expect to be going forward, looking backward. You sit down with blogs, you're hanging out with people who are bitter about marriages, and you want to make your marriage work. And for those who always say things like, oh, I don't know those people who their marriages are working, what you seek, you find. The Bible clearly states that. And it has been put out in motivation code. If I'm looking for gold, it's not going to be hanging somewhere on social media. I'm going to go and look for where people read gold or where they found gold. You do the work. But the problem is, Messiah, People hide under, and where are those people that have good marriages? Let us go and find them. I think that that's just what I will add to what I will say, and that's part of what we are doing here with this show. And so, well, we believe that we've tried to serve the best. You make your choice. And because we'll wrap up with this. So for FSA, you can either send me or Mrs. Ayo a DM, and you would give you more details about that. Our handle is at Ayodeji.Lawrence. That is a handle where you can, yes, and then for me at Sage_Nel. And this is going to be on YouTube, so if you're watching this on YouTube, like, share, comments, share with people that need to learn about this, especially single women. Okay, yeah, you know I was always dancing. Okay. Your rapid fire, you can't take more than 30 minutes to answer it. You just have to answer it like pop, 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 just as quickly as possible. That's why it is rapid. Okay, your first question is, what is your favorite color?
None.
No. This is the first guess. I said you're not really weird.
I used to have.
Okay.
I used to have, but now I just look at what suits my skin per time. If I'm wearing a white, a yellow, you know, And there are times I wear black and it looks so good on me. So anything that just suits me, I flow. I'm no longer stuck in anything. I'm a free spirit.
Okay. What is your favorite food?
Okay. Amala and ewedu with begiri.
Okay. What are you allergic to?
I hope you are sending that over to me. I hope you are sending that over to my house. Yeah, Amala and ewedu and begiri. You can't just ask me. I'm not doing anything about that.
I've seen the food that you serve people where they come to your house. Me, I'm going to create schedule to come to your house for food. Don't worry. That will be private. It's me that will come to your house for food. Okay. What are you allergic to?
You said
yes.
Sulfamide.
What are you allergic to?
Sulfamide.
What's your best movie?
I just enjoy movies. I never used to be a movie person. So in this my new life, I just sit with things, but mostly I love documentaries. I love I love comedy. Anything that has to do with gun and you are killing yourself, you are cutting your neck. I'm not. I just want to laugh. I just want to laugh and just, sit and then documentaries, see how people have lived their life. I just find myself in their space. So I do a lot of that. Yeah. But I don't have a special movie like that. I just enjoy it.
What is your best book?
My best book, The Science of Getting Rich.
Okay. If you were not born in Nigeria, were you born in Nigeria? Were you given birth to in Nigeria?
Yes, Ilorin, Kwara State, Nigeria.
Okay. If you were not born in Nigeria, what country would you have liked to be born into?
Maybe the UK.
Okay. Let's move to this or that. Gold or silver?
Silver.
Black or white?
Are we allowed to do in between?
We cannot do it.
Okay, white.
Okay. Yellow or pink?
Yellow.
What is one favorite thing about your husband?
Oh, he's such a teachable person.
Okay. What is one favorite attire to wear? One of your own favorite attire to wear?
Anything flowing.
Yes. I'm beginning to like fluid things too. Okay. What is one favorite thing for you to do?
Oh, I love unraveling anything that has to do with IT. So maybe I see an app. I just want to find out how it's working. How is it delivering this? It excites me. Yes.
What do you like to do for fun?
Sleep.
We've had guests be like, I beg, sleep. So we totally
And also on a
understandable.
serious note, apart from sleeping, I love to eat out. I love to eat out.
Yes,
Lunches,
okay.
dinners. Yes, I love that.
But you also cook good
Yeah,
because
there
like those
are
food
times
and
I just feel like there
ah
are times I just
like
feel like today I told the children, we had all woken up and past it, the food wasn't ready. I was like, please, can we have breakfast in this house this morning? And then after some time, my 11-year-old said, oh, Mom, I've cracked the eggs. What else do I need to do? I think you said you can. I said, no, I'm not entering that kitchen today. You guys are in the kitchen.
oh,
Today,
I
so
can't even
fix breakfast. So there are times I just want to be served.
reserve.
Yeah,
Yes,
just want to be served.
acceptable. Acceptable. Small chops or jollof rice?
Jollof rice. Let's eat food, proper food.
Okay. Fruits or vegetables?
Vegetables.
Would you rather take a train or would you rather take a ship?
Let's do a train.
Okay, the bus or an airplane?
Airplane. You forgotten my Molo
Okay.
story. I said you forgotten my Molo story.
No, it's no. I mean, it may not be that kind of mole. It may not be mole, but I understand. Okay, writing or speaking?
Oh, speaking. Speaking
Speaking.
is it's easier, especially when I have a lot to do. Let's just do voice notes and just go.
Can move on.
Back, back, back.
Rain or sunshine?
Sunshine.
Do you prefer to do group trainings or one-on-one counseling?
Is it for me or for
No,
others?
others. When you, as a coach now that you are, that's
As
others.
a coach. This kind of questions, I don't like it. Why are you asking this kind of questions?
If practitioners
Well, they
don't
all
like when
have,
I ask questions.
they have me sit behind. Okay, let me shall answer, Sha. Let's shall do group.
All right, so you're choosing both, but it's not allowed though, Mrs. Ayo. You
If
can
I
just
said,
allow
let me do group. I'll be able to
group.
impact more people at the same time. So let's
Okay.
do group.
Okay. Audio or visual?
I'm a very
Yes,
audio person.
that's you. Yes, learning for you. Okay,
Yes,
audio.
yes, audio. Okay.
A day at the beach or a day in one of your favorite restaurants?
Favorite restaurant. Oh, what will I
Okay.
be done that is fun again? And the rain and the water will do. I know. Let us go and eat and enjoy like somewhere.
Okay.
I'm
If
not,
you
I'm
had a
not learning to be a beach person. Really doesn't come to me naturally.
Okay. What is one, if you had a superpower, which we all have, and you are able to change one thing, like a magical wand, and you're just able to change one thing in Nigeria right now today, what would that one thing be and why?
I will. The thing I would like to change I'll say, oh, about Nigeria.
Yes,
One thing about Nigeria.
that's one thing about Nigeria, yes.
A lot of people don't have clarity. They're just
Mm.
going. So
Clarity.
for me, clarity, just help people to be able to see clearly so that they can begin to make informed decisions about themselves, about other people, about the nation, clarity for me.
Okay. And finally, what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered, as that woman that lived, loved, and laughed as she walked, the sands of time. I just want to be remembered for that. I lived to the fullest, loved, just loved without holding back, and laughed heartily.
Wow.
For me, that's it. Because I know so many things are encapsulated in that.
That's yes, true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ayo. This has been a fun session, very informative, entertaining as well. And I thank you so much for giving us your time and attention today. As a guest mentor on this show, we don't take it at all for granted. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sagenel. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.